The Trump White House appears to be having a difficult time filling the role of chief of staff to the Secretary of Defense. Pete Hegseth, who fired his own top aides back in April due to some probably alcohol induced paranoia, apparently he can't seem to find anybody else willing to take on the job. That seems really strange, doesn't it? I mean, you would think that being the chief of staff for the Secretary of Defense would be a plum position. Yeah, it is. But that would be under normal circumstances. Things ain't normal anymore. Not good. Now, what happened to his previous chief of staff? Well, Joe Casper had apparently been pushed out of the Pentagon following what insiders described as a vicious turf war. Great. Lovely. Now, that has, of course, left the DoD with some open positions, of which they cannot fill. And even with the help of Vice President JD Vance and White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, he can't seem to find any takers. Oh no! How disastrous.
Oh no!
Now, the positions apparently have remained vacant for more than 6 weeks, so almost 2 months. Jesus. Wiles and Vance have been looking for candidates inside the White House and on Capitol Hill, but Hegseth, a former Army National Guard officer turned Fox News weekend host, talk about low standards, everybody, Jesus, has reportedly rejected the White House's own choices, while other choices were rejected by the White House for apparently not being pro-Trump enough. Yeah, which leaves him where? Well, with no one to fill it. Now, currently, he is relying heavily on an aide named Ricky Buria, who left the military in April in hopes of replacing Hegseth's former chief of staff, but the White House says, no, we don't want that guy. No. He is a Biden administration holdover who had once criticized JD Vance and his isolationist views, calling them, quote, whack-a-mamie crazy. The career Marine was also critical of the vice president's opposition to the administration's March airstrikes on Yemen's Iran-backed Houthis, the New York Post reported. So, there you go. Now, yeah, speaking of that strike on the Houthis, remember that's the Signalgate, okay? Now, Signalgate also is part of the reason why the staffers are no longer there, why he can't find a replacement. Look, you have a Pentagon Inspector General report, which is about to come out. It's expected to conclude that Hegseth ended up sharing classified information on the Signal chat, according to NBC. The defense secretary has also reportedly shared sensitive information about that Yemen operation in yet another Signal chat with his wife and personal attorney. Of course. Part of the fallout from that was firing of 3 aides, Dan Caldwell, Colin Carroll, and Darren Selnick, who Hegseth accused of being leakers. You leaked the details of the second chat. But wait a minute, Mike Waltz also was Waltz the fall guy too? I mean, there's a lot of fall guys. A lot of people fall on their swords for Mr. Pete Hegseth, who is probably too drunk to notice. Okay? Now, the men, of course, the 3 guys completely deny any leaking. We're not doing the leaking, all right? We're not doing any of that. And they claim that their dismissals were, quote, unconscionable, and that no evidence was ever presented to them of their supposed guilt. Hey, I don't feel sorry for you. I don't feel sorry for any of these people. If you lay down with fascists, you get what you get. But look, I think that personally that they were presented as sacrifices to protect Pete and his job. Okay, that's it. Now, look, originally Hegseth and his personal attorney, Tim Parlator, were responsible for overseeing the investigation into these fired aides, but in May, White House officials instructed the Deputy Defense Secretary to handle the probe instead. And that investigation so far has not revealed any evidence that the men were leaking. Shocker. Shocker. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the facts are. It doesn't matter what the reality is. Hegseth, look, the guy is not fit for office, period. He is also apparently paranoid and crazy. In fact, Carroll spoke to Sirius XM host Megyn Kelly back in April. Okay, no love for any of them, okay? But he said that Hegseth spent at least half of his time investigating leaks and had created a culture of fear and toxicity at the DoD. Gee, no surprise that people are not lining up to work in that environment. It sounds really, really bad. It sounds like a shitty place to work. That said, of course, we're going to get some gaslighting from this administration. Shocker. In a statement to the Daily Beast, Chief Pentagon spokesperson Sean Parnell said, quote, "The anonymous sources cited in this article have no idea what they're talking about. Since November 5th, 2024, the military has seen the highest recruiting percentage of mission achieved in 30 years. There has never been more enthusiasm to serve under Secretary Hegseth's leadership at the DoD. White House Deputy Press Secretary Anna Kelly also said in a statement that Hegseth had the White House's full support. Thanks to Secretary Hegseth's leadership, military recruitment is up. Terrorists are eliminated. Oh, okay. And warfighters are prioritized. What war? Are we at war? War with who? Why do we need war fighters if we're not at war? Anyway, look, here's the thing. What's funny is that I looked into, obviously, the military recruitment numbers, and guess what? They are up. But why is that? Well, it's probably because it's the only way to be able to afford a college education right now, since they pretty much decimated the Department of Education. And also, it's one of the only ways left to try to get out of poverty now, which I think is obviously by design. That said, okay, these numbers have been going up for some time, even before this administration came into power, prior to the election. And one of the reasons, by the way, is because of female recruitment, women joining up. In 2024, about 10,000 women enlisted, which was an 18% increase from the prior year. For male recruitment, that number still went up, but it went up by a lot less, about 8%. The recruitment surge, I think, is partly because of some lowered standards, right? What do I mean by that? Nothing have to do with the women, okay? Which, again, there's some allegations of that. No, it's because services are accepting more recruits with lower aptitude test scores and more without high school diplomas. Okay. But again, a lot of that was actually from the prior administration. And that's because of the very, very low recruitment numbers over the past few years. That said, this previous administration and obviously had its own issues, right? But that said, getting the overall to the point here, Hegseth still, even with this, cannot seem to find anyone willing or qualified to serve under him, which I think that says more about the type of quality of people who are applying, who are in this administration, who could serve in these roles than anything. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you can become a member on our YouTube page, you can become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.